why don't we do this? Why don't we try and get some calls?
You called. Presented by Playground.
Is brought to you by Playground, your premier gaming destination located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. 1-888-585-SICK is the number to call. 1-888-585-7425. Of course, there are a lot of things that we can talk about tonight. Number one, in no particular order, Jake Allen loses again. You can now make his record 6-8 with a goals against average that's above 350 and a save percentage that is below 895. Number two, the Montreal Canadiens get shut out. It doesn't happen often, but it did tonight. Number three, they lose to the San Jose Sharks at home in Montreal again. They haven't beat the Sharks on home ice in about 7 years. Number four, -9 for the line of Suzuki, Caufield, and Kirby Dach. Where are we at? 4 or 5? Anywhere. The next one, Slavkovsky and Pizzetta, no chemistry whatsoever. The next one, 11 plus minutes on the power play, a power play that goes 0 for 6. And you know what? If you want to add anything else, you can do that. Let's get to your phone calls. We'll also get to your comments. Where are we going here? Hold on a second. We already have somebody, and Yellow and Sammy have brought him up. We are going to Tony in Pennsylvania.
How are you, Tony?
How are you?
Oh, pretty good. A little bit under the weather, but stayed up late enough to watch your show.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Whereabouts in Pennsylvania exactly?
South Central Pennsylvania, a little town called Bedford.
Bedford, Pennsylvania. All right. I can't say that I've heard about it. I do thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate that. It's kind of cool when you do a show like this and you have people watching from Pennsylvania, actually from all over the world. But let me ask you, because I'm curious, how did you come across the podcast?
Well, I've been following you ever since your rodeo show back on that other network. So I've been just keeping in touch with you the past 2 or 3 years, listening to your shows and everything. So I definitely heard about the podcast for the past year or so, you talking about it.
Well, you've actually heard about the podcast since May 27th, because before that, I wasn't really allowed talking about it. But anyway, that's another story for another day. So you followed me over, and I thank you, and I appreciate that. Bing, shots fired. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, I'm one of those people who believes that the Canadiens won't be truly competitive, and by that I mean winning a playoff series or two at the minimum 3 years. Now, I am concerned, I don't know if you are, but I am concerned about the Canadiens' goaltending situation in 3 years. If you really want to be competitive, especially in the playoffs, you have to have goaltending. And for all the good plans that they seem to have with this team, it just seems like to me they don't really have a solid plan for goaltending. I kind of want your opinion on that.
They don't have a solid plan for goaltending. You're talking about prospects at the goaltending position, or a solid plan in regards to the 2 goalies that they have right now?
Well, I don't believe you can be competitive with the likes of Jake Allen and Sam Altenbowl. That's just my opinion. I don't think,
it's a great opinion.
Take you to the playoffs, but not get you through the playoffs. And I'm just not a believer in Primo either. Like I said, just my opinion. So
yeah,
I don't know if you are a believer in Primo.
No.
Where do you go from there?
It's a great opinion that you have, Tony. But I'm going to say this. Let's define competitive. Competitive meaning what exactly? To take them to the playoffs and to be able to win playoff series. They're not gearing towards that. Okay, they're not gearing towards that. Look, they're not going to come out and say this, but I'm going to tell you what winning is for them. Winning for the Canadiens is not winning a game necessarily 5-4. Winning for them right now, where they are, is getting better. Winning is progression. And so when you say their goaltending right now isn't good enough to make the playoffs or win them a playoff series, I agree with you. And they wouldn't say this on the record, but I would be willing to bet that they would agree with you too.
Yeah, like I said, I just hope once they finally do come competitive in the next 3 to 4 years, hopefully that they do have a solid goaltender to put them through the playoffs, not just make it there.
Tony, thank you very much for following me on the podcast when I decided to go full time with this. One of the reasons why I decided to go full time with it is because I know that my listeners are the best listeners in the world and they're loyal to me. I think I got the best listeners out of anyone out there. Really, I have this following that it's my listeners are like family. And so thank you for being a part of the family. I appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome, Tony. Have a good one.
Thank you very much. All right, there you have it. Listening from Bedford, Pennsylvania. We go back to the phone lines at 1-888-585-SICK, 1-888-585-7425. We got Gary in Montreal. Gary, thanks for calling the Sick Podcast. What's going on?
No problem. I'm the cousin, right? I'm part of the family, so I'm the distant cousin.
You know what? You're a distant cousin. No problem at all. Okay. Where are you calling me from exactly?
I called you last week, Tony.
Yeah, where are you calling me from exactly?
Montreal.
And from Montreal. Okay, what's on your mind, Gary?
Yeah. So what I want to talk about was a few things, but first, remember we talked about Owen Beck last time? So now officially I could say that he does not have one weakness to his game, because the only weakness I saw potentially that he wasn't physical, he couldn't fight, but now he can fight. So he could do it all. So now it's like he's an all-purpose soon to be great player. That's
I hear you, but we don't want Owen Beck fighting. And look, with all due respect,
but I like his passion, man. That's what I like. He has passion. He's alive. You know what I mean?
With all due respect to Jake Evans, I don't know what the Canadiens are going to do with the center ice position next year. I believe that Kirby Dach is going to. I believe. Well, what I'm saying is Owen Beck's going to be on this team, but
next year.
What line?
He's going to be on the second line. He's going to be a second line center next year eventually.
No, well, I don't think they'll do that.
I'll make you a little bet.
Well, hold on a second. I'll tell you. Okay. Well, we'll have to wait until next year. But yeah, I'll take that bet. I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Look at what they're doing with Slafkovsky. They're breaking him in slowly but surely. If Slafkovsky was drafted first overall, and 15 games in, 20 games in, he's on the fourth line. Do you really believe that Owen Beck next season, after playing one more year of junior hockey, who was drafted 33rd, is going to center the second line next year?
Yes, for sure. You know why? Because first of all, Slafkovsky doesn't belong. I can't even pronounce his name. Slafkovsky does not belong in the NHL. He should be in the American Hockey League right now, today, playing 20 to 25 minutes a game, so he can learn the game and get in a lot of minutes. It's useless. It's a disservice to him to put him on the fourth line. That's where I agree with you, but he should not be on the second line. He's not confident enough. He's not smart enough yet. He's just not good enough to be in the NHL now. Simple as that. He should be in the American Hockey League playing 20 to 25 minutes a game on the first line.
You know what? You may have a point, because I'd rather see him playing 20 minutes a game on the first line than see him playing on a fourth line where guys are not on the same page with him.
Exactly. But it's more about the amount of time he needs. He needs the experience of playing every day, or almost every third day, playing 20 to 25 minutes a game. So he gets used to playing at this high level in a small rink, like the American Hockey League, fast-paced league. That's what he needs to develop, not 10 minutes or 8 minutes on a fourth line. It's ridiculous. Anyway,
Gary, you've been heard, and everyone watching via YouTube and Facebook and Twitter had a chance to hear you, and you say your opinion. Thank you very much for calling.
One more point.
Yes, go ahead.
One more point. When you talked about today, Suzuki, Caufield, and Dak were -3. Just to give you a stat, because I went to look at this last time. You know what the plus minuses of Suzuki and Caufield is in their careers? This is Suzuki's 4th year, Caufield's 3rd year. You know what Suzuki is? He's a -46 in his 4th year now. Caufield is a -25.
Yes.
You know what Lehkonen was in 8 years? He's a 0. Philip Deneau is a +64 in his 10th year.
Okay, and?
So what that tells you is, and I see it every game they play. Suzuki and Caufield are the laziest guys in back checking. They do not back check well. That's the weakness that they have.
Yeah. No, I'm going to tell you what it is. Are you ready? Are you ready for what it is? There's also a different twist that you didn't talk about. The different twist is that one is 22 and the other one's 20, and they're actually playing on the Montreal Canadiens first line at the age of 22 and 20, when the other players did not until they were actually in their mid-20s. And Lehkonen only did it for like maybe a couple of shifts here and there. They're going up against the best players on the other team, and they're going up against the best pairing of defense on the other team. And they did this in a year where Dominic Ducharme was their coach and Carey Price was out for pretty much the last 5 games of the season as the only ones that he played. And Shea Weber was out for the entire year. And Joel Edmondson missed half a season. And Paul Byron missed half a season. And Lehkonen was traded. And Sherratt was traded. And Toffoli was traded. And Kulak was traded. And Stahl wasn't brought back. And Philip Deneau went to another team. I mean, they were minus 8,000 last year, Gary.
Okay, but Tony, that's a good point. But last year, Suzuki was minus 25, okay? But he has a minus 46. He's never had a plus in his career until this. I think he's plus 2 now. He's never had a plus in every year he's played.
Okay, but Gary, you realize that the year that they went to the Stanley Cup final, as great as it was, that if it wasn't for COVID, they don't make the playoffs because they weren't very good in the regular season. You realize that too, right?
Exactly. And
okay, well, if you're not a very good,
get injured.
If you're not a very good team, you're going to end up being a minus player.
Yeah, but not that much minus, man.
Well, I mean, but Lehkonen was a plus. But Lehkonen was a plus player because he's playing on a fourth line, so he's going up against other teams' fourth lines.
No, I understand that. I'm talking about back checking and forechecking.
Yeah,
that's their weakness.
Perfect. But you know what their strength is putting the puck in the net and picking up points.
True,
and that's
but if the other guys are putting in more goals than you are, then you're not effective as a line.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the other guys are putting in more goals than them. I understand your point, but you're discouraging. Look, I'm going to live with offensive players who have defensive shortcomings more so than I'm going to like a really good defensive player who can't put up the same offense.
True, but you're not going to win a Stanley Cup like that, though.
Well, I believe that Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield are going to win a Stanley Cup. And I'm going to tell you another thing. I love Artturi Lehkonen, but if he didn't play on a team with Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen and Cale Makar, he wouldn't have won a Stanley Cup either. Well, we'll talk to you soon. All the best to you. And if Ray Bourque didn't get traded, he wasn't going to win one either. But guess what? He was a pretty good player. All right, okay. That was an interesting call from Gary. A different opinion. Very, very cool. A different opinion. Gary, you call anytime. We'll get to a couple of comments. Agnello and Sam, if you can bring it up. What is Pizzetta's role on this team? I love Pizzetta. He was actually on the podcast before. Great guy, but he's a 13th forward on this team. That's his role. Others coming in. Do you still believe Marty St. Louis is the right coach for the Canadiens? Do I believe it? Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's not a 4-0 loss to the San Jose Sharks going to make me change my mind. Marty St. Louis is the absolute perfect coach for this team because guess what? The future of this team are the young players, and the young players are the bright spots on this team. And ever since Marty St. Louis took over, the young players took their game to another level. Marty St. Louis is the absolute best coach in the world for this team at this current time. Other questions? I can bet the Habs go on a long losing streak soon. They'll finish bottom 10, 100%. The Panthers might miss the playoffs. This season, the draft will define the next decade. Remember 2003? Raymond, I remember it. And you and I, my friend, on this are on the same page. There's no doubt about it. Other questions coming in. We have one more. I would try to trade Jake Allen, says Pasquale Fabo, as soon as he gets better. Well, so would I, but he's going to have to get better really, really soon. I'm Marinaro, and that clip you just watched is from our most recent episode of the Sick Podcast. Once again, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free, and you'll be notified when we go live. I'm Marinaro. Tell your friends about it. This podcast, like me, it's pretty sick.